Good morning. Welcome to The Radical Centrist. I am your host, Gail Chulo, reporting live from Florida, New York. Guys, we got to talk about some things. We just have to. We have a lot of stuff going on and a lot of potential catastrophes that can be happening in the near future. But it's okay. I have a plan, a very detailed policy plan that I'm going to lay out for you guys. And this could really have the potential of kind of saving the world. Or ruining it, too. I'm not really sure which one, but we're going to get into it. We're going to do a deep dive, and today's policy prattle is going to be on whether or not we should make Russia a 51st state. So I'm sure you guys have had a similar experience to me before, where you're sitting at home, you're watching the news, hopefully from me, and you get this overwhelming feeling of dread, just thinking, there's so many problems in the world and just horrible things that are going on. How can we even begin to fix this mess that we're in? And I felt like that for a long time, pretty much up until yesterday when I started diving into this topic. And I think I might have come up with a plan that can really fix a lot of things involving the United States and Russia becoming, unified and having Russia become the 51st state. Might sound crazy from the beginning, especially for you lefties out there. I know that they meddled in the election, allegedly. May or may not be true. But I think that if we kind of let things go and move on, I think we can get a lot of benefits from this. So I'm going to lay out a series of arguments for why I think Russia should become the 51st state, and I'm going to lay them out through economic arguments, political arguments, and cultural arguments, so I can appeal to everybody on the right, left, center, and anywhere in between those. So to start out, I want to give you the economic argument for why Russia could help us out a lot economically. So if we look at our national debt, the U.S. debt clock, I looked earlier today, and it's at $27.3 trillion. This was a couple hours ago, so it might have gone up a couple of dollars since then. So now let's look over at Russia's economy. In overall gross domestic product, the World Bank ranked Russia 11th with $1.5 trillion in GDP. So, that can knock our debt down $1.5 trillion, which is not terrible, baby steps. But all of you conservatives are always talking about balancing the budget. Well, hey, easy answer, right? Just set them up, give them a state, and there we go. We get all that money. So seems like really an incredible idea. I'm shocked that people haven't thought of that before. But that's my economic argument. So could be wrong, could be completely wrong. So from a political standpoint, the most convincing reason to make them a state is that we won't have to worry about them meddling or allegedly not meddling in our elections, depending on which side you take. I try to stay in the center, and I'm really clueless on that. But I got this website up, this one that I loved from last time, The Onions. And I look at how centrist this website is. It really is showing you both sides, because it has one article saying that they didn't interfere, and then another one saying that they did interfere. So I really love how they're showing both sides and really showing you that you have no idea what to believe. But if that's anything that you're concerned about at all in future elections, if they became a state, they wouldn't have any power on the elections. They would actually have to vote rather than meddle. So, democracy in action is what I would call that. So, pretty convincing, I would say. Maybe not. Now, if we look at it from a cultural argument, there's a lot of really convincing things, I think, in favor of Russian really just kind of slipping right in with the United States. And my first argument is this: we're already part Russian. Huh? Confused a bit? I hope so. Because guess what? That state, Alaska, that mysterious big state over on the top left of the country, used to be Russia. I know, crazy, right? I had no idea. I've never read a history book in my life. But if we look over here, on March 30th, 1867, Secretary of State William H. Seward signed a treaty with Russia for the purchase of Alaska for $7.2 million. Eisenhower signed a proclamation admitting the territory of Alaska into the Union as the 49th state. So, when you think of Alaska, do you think of that as something separate from the United States? Probably not. So honestly, if we do this, you might not even notice that they're there. They can just stay over in Russia, but we just give them, access to be a state, and kind of just go from there, see what happens. Could be terrible, but might as well try it out, because I think what we're doing right now, it's not working. the greatest. Maybe it is working, honestly. But now, from another cultural argument, I want to take a look over here at these flags. Now, just look at these really quick. Just study both of these. Take a look at the colors, to be more specific. You notice anything? The same colors. Okay? So if they have to just adopt our flag, it's not going to be that big of a deal because it's basically just the same flag, but you're just kind of reordering some of the colors. You're chopping the white up into little pieces of star shapes, putting it into the blue. So it's really the same exact flag. So from a convenience standpoint, I don't think that would cause any issues either. And I think another thing that you want to consider with Russians is that they have a lot of strongmen, right? They're really famous for those strongmen competitions, and that's something that I feel very passionate about. I was on Channel 6 News the other day just going off about how America needs to be stronger, maybe. And I really think that if we, get more strongmen into our culture, it will really kind of just make the country stronger. Maybe not in terms of our unity and how we operate as a country, but in terms of world records for strongmen stuff, which I'm much more concerned about. So if you're concerned about that, similar to how I am, I think that's another very convincing argument. Now, the last argument that I want to make is that, we all know this already. We don't even really need to get into this, but Russia has the best food in the entire world. There's no denying that. And I want to get into some of this. We all know this. This is all like our favorite stuff that we order when we go to a diner. But we look at this over here. So kasha, in the English language, kasha usually refers to pseudo-cereal buckwheat, which really sounds appetizing. Let's take a look at a picture. Look, this is one of the most popular foods in Russia. How could you deny a culture like this from assimilating into our society? It's just great. Who needs Olive Garden when you can have something like this every day? So I'm sure your mouth is watering at this point and you're probably completely convinced. But if you haven't been convinced yet, don't worry. I'm a centrist, so I'm still very torn on all of this. Like I said, this could be a great thing, or it could completely destroy the world if we ended up going at war within our own country rather than as separate countries. But hope you learned something, and I hope you are a little bit more confused on the matter than you were when you started it. This is Gail Chulo reminding you to stay grounded and stay centered. This is the Radical Centrist.